Today, we're going to be looking at the Weltrix Expert Advisor. So this gentleman here, Mr. Guillermo, has made a few pretty popular bots over the years, and he tends to trade a very unique style, where it's a pretty high frequency style of bot, usually on gold. So curious to see where this one kind of fits into his lineup, and if it's as good as some of his previous ones. So what we can see here is that most of his bots are not based on a lot of the classic high-risk bot strategies, such as never actually cutting your losers, grids, martingales, manipulated backtests, so like history readers and all of that jazz. And essentially what he's saying is that this is a fairly fairly high-frequency trading bot, where you're going to have more than 4 trades on average per day. And what he's saying is low spread optimized makes sense to scalpers. So really this is something which every trade has a stop loss, every trade has a TP, and it's just in and out really quickly. You can see here is that it's running on gold on the H1, and this kind of system does usually make sense on gold just because gold has a lot of volatility relative to the spread. So if you're looking for a scalper, you need to have enough volatility to have that move, but you also want your spreads to be reasonably tight. Because if you have like arguably not super volatile pair, and then you have a big spread, by the time it moves, your spread could be a pretty sizable percentage of the move. And this makes it really hard to be profitable at a higher frequency style of trading. But overall, it's looking pretty classic for him. When he's saying like, what's the stop loss for the EA? He's not really speaking to the exact strategy. I think it's probably going to be more indicator based. Like this type of equity curve, we're probably seeing like the kind of the reverse staircase that's usually more characteristic of a scalper. It will be an inverted risk reward system. Here we can look at the actual performance to day 2. Let me just switch this to English real quick. If we go to the statistics, we can see that it has made quite a few trades of 225 trades. We are seeing an inverted risk reward of roughly, actually a bit less than 2 to 1 with an 84% win rate. So comparable to some of his previous bots, the statistics here look almost too good to be true over a very long period of time, because like seeing an 84% win rate at this high of a risk reward is excellent. Don't get me wrong, I think it's a totally legitimate signal, but if we were to like 10x the number of trades, I would think either the win rate or the risk reward would likely be a little bit worse, just because the performance here is so good that most likely there is an element of fitting to whatever the regime currently is. What's also been interesting is that he's trading US 30 and gold here too, while the actual signal just says to run it on gold. So I'm curious as to what he's doing there. Maybe some of the statistics we're seeing are actually a combination of the two, because you would expect it to be running primarily on gold. But overall, looks good, impressive signal. I think if we go far back enough, it used to be running a mix, and as of late, he's only been running it on gold, and it is a mix of both buys and sells, and he's really stacking multiple trades on top of each other, most likely to be a bit less spread and or slippage sensitive. So here I ran a backtest on Vantage, and as we can see, I ran it on gold on the H1, and it's clearly a breakout based scalper, right? So like when you're hitting a prior high, it's just entering with a whole cluster of trades. And same thing here too, like we're seeing like these breakout of a prior level and just a whole bunch of different trades opening. And if we look at the actual statistics, kind of as expected, the average profit, interesting, it's actually showing a positive risk reward, which I wouldn't expect with this kind of system. I'm curious as to how he did that. He did tell me on the sales page that we have to download a set file. So I did actually download this set file and I used it in the backtest. So perhaps it's different than what we're seeing here, because seeing this kind of risk reward and this kind of and like seeing a win rate which is 80% with a 2 to 1 risk reward, that's a little bit too good to be true in my opinion. So I think there might be a bit of overfitting going on here. The actual like strategy seems relatively straightforward and can work and is definitely a viable strategy, but I'm a little bit skeptical. Okay, so we have Fibonacci levels, trade scoring system, New York breakout. There's a whole bunch of like a pullback strategy, Fibonacci strategy. Wow, there's a lot of strategies here. There's a lot of inputs. Okay, so what I'm thinking here is he's trading a whole basket of more like breakout style systems on gold, which can very well be a super profitable system. The one thing which I'm a little bit nervous about is because there's so many inputs and because the statistics look so good, I wouldn't be surprised if it perhaps is a little bit of overfitting or over optimization, especially because he's constantly releasing new set files. Like that's usually a pretty good sign of like, hey, if you have to change the set file every week, it's because like every time that it loses its edge because you overfit it, you can pump out a new set file. So I don't want to question the guy's integrity. He seems like a nice enough dude, but at the same time, that could be a risk. But overall, there's definitely a real strategy here. It looks to be a pretty a solid system, but just the statistics are a little bit too good to be true, and I think that's due to frequent re-optimization with different set files. So that might be causing it here. But overall, if you like this style of more higher frequency scalping system, it might very well be a decent bot for you. And the performance to date has been quite solid, but once again, the signal also has a few divergences from the strategy we're seeing here, having multiple pairs, having a inverted risk reward versus having a positive risk reward, all of which I would probably want a bit more digging on. So overall, looks pretty promising. This guy has made some good bots in the past. I think he knows what he's doing, but you might want to ask a couple questions to him before actually making a purchasing decision, just to clarify some of maybe his processes, like how he's actually optimizing, how he's training, just to make sure that everything is nicely in order before proceeding. Guys, hope you enjoyed the video and have a wonderful day.